when I started tracking my food and blending it with intuitive eating, right? I didn't completely get rid of it. I blended it. So I integrated both together. This is where we got to, okay? Pretty freaking sweet, okay? I will say, obviously, I shaved, so that definitely helps. You do look leaner. And this is also right at the end of the diet phase. So I'm holding pretty close to this right now. Not the exact same, but pretty close. And I can just hang out and I don't have to worry about losing my physique results at all because I'm rocking this system 24/7. It's always going. Even if my diet changes, the system is operating in the background automatically, okay? After this, I rolled it out to clients. Okay, they experienced predictable fat loss, easier adherence, stopped starting over every Monday, stayed lean during travel, vacations, holidays, and built a flywheel system that got easier the more they did it. So what is the protocol? What is the MacroIntuitive Protocol? Okay, it blends macro-based structure, okay, macro-based tracking with intentional intuitive-based eating, right? This involves various habits. Okay, so we're taking both. Instead of going towards one or the other, we blend both. Okay, so you get data-driven results and you still live a normal life and you keep your other values intact, which is what most people struggle to do, right? A strict plan with clear numbers plus a flexible plan with healthy habits. Okay, we got 3 pillars here. Pillar 1 is the macro side. Okay, macro-intuitive macro side. This ends up being around 92% of your meals. So 80-20, great way to do it. 92-8 or 90-10, which is what this ends up being around, is best in my opinion. That's why I made this system like this. It's simple, it's repeatable meal structure, so it could be macros or a meal plan. Weighed, tracked, and data-driven. We have hard numbers. There's no guessing because we have numbers. This is important. You do need objective metrics when it comes to this. Otherwise, you are just guessing, you're hoping, you're praying. We don't want that, okay? This is where predictable fat loss and true control come from, okay? Results are still precise and measurable, and that's what we're actually looking for here, and that's why we need the macro side. Now, pillar 2 is the intuitive side, right? This is the other 8 to 10%. So this is where we have 2 free meals per week. So everything else is as is, right? But we have 2 free meals per week. We always have 2 slots for this. 2 free meals. I call them free because they're totally untracked, and these are not cheat meals. Cheat meals, there's no mindful awareness at all. There's no practice of habits. It's just gorging, overindulging, and there's no development there at all. You're not building equity at all in anything. But with these free meals, you are. You're practicing self-awareness. You're stopping at 80% full. You're enjoying every bite. You're ordering and making meals that not only do you enjoy and taste good and you look forward to, but they also digest well and you feel great afterwards, okay? These are completely untracked on purpose for that reason because we want to put in those reps. We want to practice eating out, social events, travel, holidays, and we want to learn how to navigate those things because if you don't, you are screwed. It's just a matter of time until the diet you're doing ends and you're totally going to burn out and everything is gone, okay? Eating out, social events, travel, holidays. Unless you plan on skipping all of those for the rest of your life, you need a system that accommodates for those. At the end of the day, that's all that matters, okay? So the goal here is to learn to stay in control when life isn't perfect. Because if you can do that, you have longevity. You have true sustainability. Everyone throws out that word. But that's what that is. If you can play this game forever, you win, right? Over time, you want to curate the confidence to maintain this top 1% physique in any scenario life throws at you. So then you know, I'm good. I know that. I know I'm good. Anything life throws at me, I have a system that's running. Even if the diet changes, my system's always running, okay? Last pillar here, the pillar. This is where it kind of gets easier as things go on. This is the flywheel effect. So each phase gets easier and easier over time because you gather more insight, you do more reps, you acquire more skills, and you build more confidence. Okay. Over time, this gets easier. And that's the idea. The start's actually the hardest. With most diets, as you saw with the willpower paradox, as that gap grows, it actually gets harder over time. In this case, in this scenario, when you install the MacroIntuitive Protocol, the hardest part's at the start, and it only gets easier as you go. So time is on your side, okay? Diets get harder the longer you do them, systems get easier. That's kind of how I look at it, right? So here's the idea. So just to give you a visual. So this shows how you can kind of flex and customize the MacroIntuitive Protocol to you. So look at this, just look at this one here to the left here. So this spectrum, you have like a strict side and then you have a flexible side, right? And this is truly a sliding scale. In most cases, a fat loss phase is going to be over here. Anything that's not a fat loss phase, maintenance or anything else is going to be over here, okay? Where along this spectrum all depends on your goals, your expectations, what you expect, what you want, and life scenario, okay? So if you go to the image here on the right, the sweet spot here, So when I put someone into a fat loss phase within the MacroIntuitive Protocol, they're going to be somewhere at this end of the spectrum. You can see they're not all the way to the left. That's a mistake a lot of people make. And we're also not too far to the right, which is too flexible. We actually want to err on the side of a little bit more rigid and strict during a fat loss phase. So this is the sweet spot. Now, when someone's outside of a fat loss phase, I like to slide them down this way just a little bit. And that helps to build longevity, right? Most people, they just end up staying in one spot and being like, well, hopefully I can do this forever. Good luck. You won't, right? So this is kind of cool because you can just slide this. It's a sliding scale. You can just slide this wherever you want in any scenario at any time for as long as you want, which is really cool. So you could slide all the way over here if you want, but I recommend basically like not visiting either ends, right? So here all the way to almost the most flexible side, but you're just kind of like floating around in the middle depending on what your goals are. You will go through various sprints and coast, sprint and coast. Over time, you look back after a year, 5 years, 10 years, and you're like, wow, I look freaking great. And I've been making progress this entire time. Sometimes it's slower progress. Sometimes it's faster progress. Regardless, you're making progress and you don't lose ground, okay? So here's how that basically looks, right? So most people are just endlessly dieting. So the yo-yo cycle, this is what it basically looks like. Is like you end up just doing like a fat loss phase, a maintenance. I'm just using maintenance because that's what I use with clients, but like anything that's not fat loss. So fat loss, not fat loss, fat loss, not fat loss, fat loss, not fat loss. So you're just like dieting over and over and over again. And you're either doing that because you keep regaining, I mean, that's the only way you do it, is that you keep regaining the weight back. So it's like to get that look, you have to like keep dieting. Like, it's a horrible way to live, in my opinion, right? You end up spending like a vast majority of your life thinking and worrying about food and just dieting constantly. The new way, which is, I call this phase stacking. So using the MacroIntuitive Protocol, when I work with clients, it's a 36-week coaching program, okay? And that's a one-on-one coaching with me. I'm taking them through the first 3 phases here. So fat loss, a maintenance diet break in the middle, and then a final fat loss phase. So 3 phases here. I'm taking them through those 3. Then what's happening after, and they either do this with me or on their own, they go into a longer term maintenance. That is on purpose. Then potentially down the road, they do a small mini cut, a small fat loss phase that is modeled after the fat loss phases that they just ran with me inside my coaching program. After that, they go into another maintenance. And they could do that forever, but what's happening over time is they're dieting less and less for shorter amounts of time. So these maintenance phases of just enjoying life and holding those results while slowly building muscle and recomping their physique without worrying about dieting and being in calorie deficit, those end up being much, much longer, and the fat loss phases end up shrinking and being less frequent. It's a way better way to live your life, in my opinion, because fitness should be amplifying your life, not taking away from it.